For the first time since 1978, I returned to Poland this year, twice, in fact, in less than 4 months. And as one would, I recalled my initial visit to Poland and to Auschwitz and Birkenau. Back in 1978, Poland was bleak, lifeless, and gray. There was almost no indication of Jewish life. Though some synagogues still stood, they were ignored, forgotten, and brutalized. And there was still some indication of an existing Yiddish theater, though few survivors were left who spoke Yiddish. I noted in that year that the signage and attitude in Poland was that the Holocaust was a Polish tragedy, not a Jewish tragedy. It indeed was a Polish tragedy. 3 million non-Jewish Poles were killed. They should not be forgotten either. But there was no indication back then that the extermination camps were primarily formatted for the singular elimination of the Jewish people. Those death camps were part of the Nazis' master plan. It was their aim, we know, to cleanse the world for their master race, to kill Jews as rapidly as possible, as many as 1,500 at one time, in 1/2 hour, in one gas chamber. Multiply that out, and you come to 6 million. One of our congregants who traveled with us, himself an expert in technology, put it this way on his blog. He said the technological efficiency on display in Birkenau makes this the most organized crime in history. It was sociologically skillful. The Nazis started dismantling the Jews in a methodological way, first by taking away their businesses, then by disrupting their lives, then by taking their possessions, their dignity, and ultimately their lives. It was also technologically skillful in a way that hit me harder here at Birkenau than even at Auschwitz. For some, at a death camp where even hope was dead, it was just another day at the office. The SS officers went about their business of killing as many people as they could, as quickly and as efficiently as they could. It was this singular focus on murder and annihilation that murdered 3 million Polish Jews, with only 300 other Polish Jews able to escape, flee, or otherwise forsake death. So when I returned to Poland twice this year, I fully expected the same despair and darkness to shroud me as had been in 1978. This time I was better prepared to survive the shivers, the pit in my stomach, the unconscious and uncontrollable tears, the heartache and the heartbreak that convulsed within me 35 years ago. It was the pervasive memory that had endured and left me despising Poland as a graveyard of one of the most vibrant Jewish cultures and civilizations ever. Therein lies the memory that we carry with us this evening. But there is an unexpected irony in Poland nowadays. The heartache one feels at Auschwitz and Birkenau is no less. The vastness of the killing fields and bombed gas chambers and crematoria and pits in which bodies were burnt to quicken the extermination, and from which bone fragments still rise to the surface after rain, is still witness to the horror. None of this will ever be diminished. None of this becomes easier or casual. To the contrary, the visits this year were more poignant and more personal than was my 1978 experience. But this is the irony. It is in what else is now happening in Warsaw and Krakow and other communities in Poland. The irony is that there is a future. There is a revival, a renaissance, Might one call it a resurrection of Jewish life that sprouts emerging from a once scorched earth? We don't know for certain the present population of Poland because the Holocaust cautioned Jews never again to put their names on lists which could be used against them. Reports vary that there are anywhere between a low of 3,500 and the most 20,000 Jews in Poland. But what we are now witnessing is the emergence of small Jewish synagogues and community centers in Krakow and Warsaw, in Gdansk, and a small remnant even in Białystok, from where many of us may have come. Survivors of the Holocaust who kept their Jewish roots a secret, now old enough to be nearing death, are telling their grandchildren about their Jewish roots. Increasing numbers of their grandchildren are returning to Judaism by way of conversion and identity with Jewish institutions. Many non-Jewish Poles are awakening to the historic Jewish depth and Polish culture and attempting to recapture and celebrate it. The irony is that in Poland, it is the only country in Europe where there is no security needed outside synagogues, no guards outside Jewish museums or community centers. There is no recent indication of anti-Semitism. 98% of the students in the Jewish Studies Department of the University of Krakow are not Jewish. 20,000 to 30,000 Polish citizens flood Krakow each year for an annual Jewish festival. Most of the staff working at the Jewish Community Center in Krakow is not Jewish, but either rediscovering their Jewish roots and converting, or rediscovering their Jewish roots and not converting, and others who have no Jewish roots, but feel a kinship to the Jewish community and want to support it. The president of the Progressive Synagogue of Krakow is a 28-year-old, amazing young woman who converted as a result of her intuitive affinity to Jewish life. And therein the irony. It is this hope rising from despair and memory. It is about dawn breaking through darkness. From the places where Nazis calamitously oversaw the most numerous and ignoble mass destruction of Jews, Jewish life is rebounding. Where there was so much death, life is affirmed. It is the story of Polish Jewry. It is a story of Jewish survival. It is both our heartache and our mission to remember the past, but never to become the victim of our past, to prevail in victory over the Nazis by never allowing our spirit to be crushed, never permit our optimism to be assuaged, never to permit our faith in the possibility of human goodness to be vanquished. That is our mission. That is our DNA. That is our purpose. And that, God willing, will be our future.